So my name is Joe Johnston, and I want to speak with you tonight about creating community. And community has dozens of definitions. For example, there's the community of people that use Macintosh computers. There's the community of people that live in New York City. But the kind of community I'm talking about tonight is a very personal community. It is the rich fabric of relationships that we have with friends of different walks of life, people of different ages, those things that really bring a lot of meaning to our lives. And so tonight we're going to talk about community in two different ways. First of all, as was stated, we had the opportunity to build a community from scratch. And so I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about how you can create community right where you're at. I grew up on a farm in Gilbert, and in the late 1990s, as urbanization started coming our way, we had the opportunity to have a clean sheet of paper and design the sort of community that we would like to live in. And that's a big responsibility, so we started thinking about places we had lived before and the things that we liked about them and the things that we didn't like about them. And one thing that kept coming back to my mind is the idea of a village. And if you think about a village, it's very different than where we live now. In a village, you are known. You basically are known by the people for the members in your family history. They might know your quirkiness. They know where you work. They know a lot about you. And then secondly, very often the people that you buy and sell from are also your neighbors. Like maybe there's a baker next door and you go downtown and you see them and you all are buying and selling from one another. And then thirdly, there's kind of the idea of overlapping circles in a village. So for example, on Sunday, I might go to the corner church, and there is a circle of some of the villagers there. And then let's say I'm a merchant in the downtown, and then I have that circle of villagers that I know that are fellow merchants, that are customers, and vendors, and so I know that circle. And then there's the circle of people I know from school. So I know some of the teachers, some of the kids, family members, that sort of thing. And those circles start to overlap. And so I have a much deeper relationship with all of those people because I know them on a bunch of different levels. But this is not really true with most places we live right now. Right now, if most of us were honest with ourselves, I think we would say that we are somewhat anonymous. That when we go to our neighborhood, we are not really known. Maybe we're known for the color of our car as it goes into the garage, but we are not really known like we would be in a village. Similarly, we probably don't buy and sell from our neighbors. You know, they probably work 20 miles away, and so we don't really have that connectedness with them. And similarly, the idea of circles there are all kind of disparate. For example, you have your small circle of people that you know in the neighborhood. Then there's the circle of people that you work with. Then the circle of people, let's say, that you go to church with. The circle of people that you hang out with for, let's say, you like to go bike riding, or you're a marathon runner. So you have these different circles, but they're all spread out. There's not depth by overlapping them. So there's a lot of reasons for that, but there's only a few that we could control in the design of our community. And a lot of communities were designed with kind of isolation and the individual in mind. And they were also designed to be kind of auto-centric. So there are the garages and pedestrians were not really thought of. And so we started thinking, okay, as we design this thing, how can we design it to overcome some of those issues? And just as an aside, community is not buildings. So the only thing we could do was build the built environment with the hopes that if we did it right, that people would come, they would inhabit the stage, and that they would become a community. And so that's all we could do is design it with that end in mind. So we started out, first of all, with the houses and the lots. And we tried to make it so that it was a very social house and social lot. So one of the things we did was in the backyard, instead of having a block wall that goes all the way around the back, we have the minimum sized fence that's necessary for pool safety. And it's about this tall. So you can see your neighbors over the fence. And it's vinyl, it's not block, it's not like a prison. And so I can see my neighbor in the backyard, and it's semi-private, but I can interact with them, and it's a good thing. Then we moved the houses forward on the lot. So instead of having this big, long front yard that disconnects you from the street, now it's pulled forward, and we have, as you can see on the screen, we have porches, which are a very, very important element because it's the connection between the private space of your house and the public space, which is the street. So it's like that quasi-public transition. So if you want to sit on the front porch and drink a glass of wine and you see somebody coming by, you can chat with them. It just starts to enliven the streetscape, which is, if you've ever been to foreign countries, they have a much more lively streetscape than we do, normally speaking. So we did that, and then we started working on pedestrian links to make sure that the pedestrian had priority over the car, to get people out of the isolation of a car, get them on bikes, walking, that sort of thing. And so we made sure that they were very comfortable sidewalks. We made sure that the trees made it so that they were shaded and that it would be an all-weather sort of walking experience. Also, because of the porches, as you walk, you can talk to people and you can also see the architecture of the houses. And then lastly, we added third places. Now, third place is a term coined by Ray Oldenburg in the book, The Great Good Place. And the idea is the first place is your house, the second place is where you work, and the third place is where social interaction happens. And so it's a level place where anybody can come and a low barrier to entry. And so we designed that into parks, pocket parks, community center, a coffee house, restaurant, and there's more to come because we're only partially developed. And so people go there and hang out and talk to one another, and they can stay all day if they want. So it's a great community binding thing. So it's worked out well. It's built out to a large degree, and the people did come, and they were self-selecting. People that wanted to be social came, and it created community. Okay, so now let's move on to how you can create community where you're at, because you probably don't have a clean sheet of paper where you can go and say, I'm going to design the whole thing. But there's a lot that you can do. There's two things you have to concern yourself with, though, to begin with, that are internal to us as Americans. And one of those would be the idea that we are independent. We like to think of ourselves as strong people. We can do it ourselves. We are kind of an island unto ourselves. We want to do what we want to do. Now, that's actually kind of a bankrupt notion, and you are actually much better off being interdependent, much more likely to have a rich and enjoyable life and a more free from stress life if you will rely upon others. So that idea of interdependence is critical to creating community. Secondly, there is the idea of a desire for security and for comfort. And my personal view is that desire probably mutes your life down a lot. I know for me personally, some of the most exciting things I've done are uncomfortable and they're not safe. So I think we need to get over the idea that meeting people is going to be difficult. It will be. There's going to be problems. There's going to be things that are not going to work out so well. But most of them will work out well, and you will meet people that don't believe what you believe, don't think what you think, and are not from your walk of life, and that is going to enrich in your life. So if we can avoid those kind of pitfalls that are normal in our lives, the trap of independence and the trap of comfort and security, then we will be going a long way. So let's talk about 3 practical things that we can do right now where we live. First of all is the idea of starting to live your life in a public way. And all I'm saying is if you start doing some of the activities you normally do in the house or in the backyard where people can't see it, and move it out to the front yard or the common area of your apartment complex, then you will be starting out on the right step. And so what I would suggest is, for example, if you were going to barbecue in the backyard anyhow and you have a portable barbecue, come barbecue in the front yard. If you were going to sit in the back and chat, bring your folding chairs out front and start chatting out front. If you are doing an herb garden in the backyard, why not do an herb garden in the front yard? Why not play ping pong on the driveway? Just bring some of your existing activities into the public view. And as people drive by, they're going to wonder, what the heck is that? And some of them are actually going to drop in and try to join in with you. And that's kind of the point. And by way of example, at Agritopia, before those third places were put into place, we started a thing called the Orchard. It was our next door neighbor, and my wife and I, and we would go out with folding chairs every Wednesday. Across the street from our house, there was some common area with trees. And we would sit out there and bring snacks and eat and chat. Then, about 3 weeks later, some people started joining us. And then a couple months later, it was up to 20, 30, 40 people with kids and stuff running around. People would bring beer, they would bring whatever drink they wanted, food, snacks, whatever. And it was a great third place. There was no expectations at all. Nobody was assigned food, no one was assigned, you gotta come. It just became a great binding third place. And I know it would work well where you're at as well. It's not rocket science. Then, okay, so we started that sort of thing where we're living our life in public. So then the next thing we want to do is start inviting people. So this is the proactive thing. So we want to start inviting people into our life. And so what I suggest is maybe have people over once a month. Just commit that you're going to be cooking dinner anyhow. Why not cook it for 6 other people? And so have them come and join you. If you're going to go to the Oktoberfest here in downtown Chandler, or if you're going to go to one of the restaurants, or you're going to go to a movie theater, have them join in with you. Invite them into your life and continue to grow those relationships. So then the last thing you want to do, which is to go ahead and start growing your community even further. And grow it in 2 ways, actually. Grow it on a community basis or a geographical basis, and also on an interest basis. So what I mean by that is geographically, let's say you've already done a really good job with your block. So then start working on your street and start organizing street parties. And then after that, go to the HOA and say, you know what, let us please do an HOA-wide party, or your apartment complex. Can we have a complex-wide party? Can we start a community garden in some of the common area in our subdivision? That sort of thing. Or go to the HOA and say, you know what, part of that village life was how we supported each other commercially. Let's find out who does what in this neighborhood and have a referral system. And if there's a plumber next door, why do I want to call a guy 30 miles away to come fix my plumbing? So work on that to just try to get village life going where you're at. And then also as you meet these people, then you're going to start finding common interests. I know there's some people in the audience who are big into coffee. And so, you might find some other people that are big into coffee, and you might start a little, coffee tasting thing, or you like to go visit coffee houses. I know there's some scooterists in the audience as well, and you might want to start a Vespa club. And slowly but surely, you build kind of interest groups from the people you already know. And thankfully now with social media and the internet, it's easy to find out other people in your local area that share that interest, and so start building these interest groups. And I think that if you start doing these things, you'll find that slowly but surely you will be building community from the ground up.